Okay, in this video I'm going to look very briefly at Buddy. Buddy is a continuous integration or continuous deployment, kind of software as a service kind of thing. If you're into DevOps, you probably already know about Buddy. What it does is it automates a bunch of processes before your code gets deployed. So you can set up things like unit tests, integration tests, building, compiling, all these things. Make sure that the code is 100% what you want it to be before you finally send it on to the mainnet, essentially, in the case of EOS at least. So what they did is they recently announced, right before I recorded this video, they announced support for EOSIO. So I figured I would look at it because I think it's definitely something you should look into if you're planning on doing any sort of serious dApp development. So all I did is I created a Buddy account here. There's a free tier account, so I won't be charged anything for creating this pipeline. Once you create your account and log in, it'll look very much like this. I'm going to create a new account, a new project. I pushed the hello world from our previous EOS factory video, so I'm going to use that as my pipeline code. And I'm going to call this pipeline hello world, and I'm going to have it trigger on every push. So anytime I push code into the master branch of my Hello World GitHub repo, it will trigger all of the deployment stuff that I set up in the pipeline and then finally deploy it to the mainnet. So the reason why they're able to do continuous integration, continuous deployment fairly effortlessly with EOSIO rather than Ethereum is the thing we talked about in the previous blockchain lectures, where updating smart contracts is not as huge a deal as it is in EOS as it is in Ethereum. So what you can see here, they have this blockchain template thing, and they have EOSIO build and EOSIO deploy. So what you can do is you can set up a stage in your pipeline whereby you build your smart contract. In this case, I called it Hello World. And here. So this stage in the pipeline will simply just build build the code similar to how we were doing with Contract. So now we have this primary action in our pipeline, and then after we build the code, we would also want to deploy the code. So what we'll do here is we'll add a second stage where it's EOSIO deploy. The contract after it's compiled will be in this directory, so we'll use this. If we look back in my profiles, let's say we want to deploy to the JungleNet before we do anything crazy. So here I will add the JungleNet URL for the node EOS there. We created our Udemy course back here, so we'll use that one again. We'll use its active key, and then where was that? Right here. Whoops. And then we'll use the private key here. So this way we can sign the transaction that will deploy this contract to the Udemy course. This would obviously fail, in real life, but I just wanted to show you, a very quick example. Again, this isn't a DevOps course. This is a blockchain course, and this is just one, small aspect of it. Another thing I think that's interesting that Buddy supplies you with is if let's say the deployment or the compilation fails, we can add actions here when it fails, and also when after it fails it goes back to normal. So what you can do here is look here, there's a bunch of different things. Let's say we want to transfer the log file that fails via FTP or do some sort of SSHing, but there are also things down here like sending a simple SMS, email, Discord, Slack anytime your deployment fails in your EOSIO pipeline, or in my case the Hello World pipeline. And you could do the same when the action returns back to normal. That's all I'm going to do in this video. I'm not actually going to trigger it or deploy the code or anything like that, just because again I don't want you to get bogged down in details. I just want you to be aware that this Buddy continuous integration actually does exist, in case you want to use it in any of your projects. And I highly recommend it. I know the big four tech companies use continuous integration all over the place. And so it's very cool that this is now in a kind of an open source technology that you can use for smart contracts. See you in the next video.